the airplanes or gasoline-driven cars. It would be another 66 years before the Wright brothers made their first successful flight, and 36 years before the steam-driven automobile that could travel short distances was replaced by the gasoline-driven engine. Railroads were just beginning to be built. Some ships were powered by steam, but again, they only went short distances and usually continental United States, not transoceanic. We don't really know how Jacob and Maria got to this country. We know how Jacob's sister, who came 2 years before him, got here, but we don't know how Jacob and Maria got here or to what port they entered. So I'll tell you about Jacob's sister, and then you can get some idea of what travel was like in 1837. She came by sailing ship, the Albany, which was a wind-driven ship, a sail ship. She lived in France, or she came from France, and this spelling, or this pronunciation, it's somebody that has taken French can help with. It's H-A-B-R-E. Okay. Okay. Say it again and loud so I don't forget this. Har?
Lahar. L-E in front?
Okay.
Was there an L-E?
No, but...
Okay. It was Lahar when I was there.
Okay. Same word. Our Yaggi ancestors were not among the first to come to America. Swiss and German people started coming in small numbers as early as the 1600s. It wasn't until the founding of Pennsylvania that Swiss immigration increased. Pennsylvania was centrally located in the original 13 colonies. About 1710, Swiss Mennonites and Palatines, followed by other religious sects, began coming directly to Pennsylvania, seeking refuge from religious persecution. Some of the original immigrants found their way to the Carolinas and to Georgia, but the vast majority of them went to Pennsylvania. In 1727, there were between 15 and 20,000 German-speaking persons, mostly from Germany and the Pennsylvania colony alone. By 1775, they comprised 1/3 of the total population. The third wave of immigrants were not fleeing religious persecution, but they came as hard-working people seeking a new life. The same causes that operated before the American Revolution to bring a small stream of European immigrants to the United States continue to operate after the establishment of the federal government. On the one hand, unfavorable economic, social, military, and religious conditions at home tended to induce European people to leave their native land. On the other, there were opportunities for social and economic betterment, as well as a general situation of greater political and religious freedom, which tended to attract people. No official federal records were made of the influx of foreign people to the U.S. prior to 1820, but it's estimated that 250,000 persons immigrated up until then. Not until the end of the War of 1812 and the Napoleonic Wars did a constant stream of immigrants flow to this country. The railroads had grown and new western lands had opened. Most of the non-Irish immigrants during these years settled in rural areas and engaged in agriculture. Immigration records show that 4,821 Swiss emigrated to America between 1833 and 1840, the time span Jacob and Maria arrived. That figure dramatically increased in 1851 to 1860. Up to 25,019, and in 1881 to 90 to 81,988. Jacob's sister Maria probably traveled by wagon to her European port of departure. She sailed on the Albany, arriving at Ellis Island in New York. She most likely spoke German or French since she worked in France as a governess, so the registration process could have been difficult for her. She married in New York and lived there almost 2 years before moving to Ohio. From New York City, she would have taken the steam railroad that went as far as Albany, and that from there made her way by wagon to Buffalo and then to Cleveland. Cleveland at that time was about 3,000 people. You can imagine that. From Cleveland, she would have gone south on the Erie Canal by canal boat. The canal was built in 1825, It was 40 feet wide, and it was deep enough to accommodate the boats to the waterway. The boats were for packets, as they were called. Operated day and night with men and beasts working 6-hour shifts around the clock. The mules were on the packet, and the men would work 6 hours, sleep, get up, work 6 hours again, so the boats would work around the clock. The problem was, sometimes mules would fall in the canal. The water was stagnant, so the people that worked on the boats got malaria. The canals were often full of debris, so there were accidents. And in winter, they couldn't be used. The water froze and they couldn't be used. So it didn't take very long before other modes of transportation became more desired than the canal boats. But it's kind of fascinating to read about the canals. Travel was about 1.5 miles an hour, so it took a while.
Oh, gosh.
It was not unusual. The journey to Columbiana County would have been by wagon. The county was formed in 1803, almost at the same time of the formation of the state of Ohio from the Northwest Territory. The county was named for Christopher Columbus and Queen Anne. So that's where Columbiana came from. Jacob and Maria moved to Knox Township because his sister was already here. When Jacob and Maria arrived in Knox Township, they found a wooded countryside with gently rolling hills. The area was well watered with springs and streams. The Mahoning River and its branches flowed through the area, making for rich and fertile farmland. Knox was already organized as a township. That was done in 1808. North Georgetown was formed in 1830. Reading was formed in 1840, and Homeworth in 1851. Knox Township was once known and frequently spoken as the Switzerland of Columbiana County because of the dairy activities and the cheese making. Making of Swiss cheese in the United States had its beginning in Knox Township. At one time, it was said there were 21 Swiss cheese factories conducting business in the township, but many of them were small, and they were just operations of either the tenants of the farms or the owners of the farms themselves. If you went on the tour, you saw a couple of cheese houses reference to Yaggi's making cheese. The sound of Swiss cowbells and farmers yodeling must have brought a smile to their American neighbors. These sturdy Swiss cheese and dairymen made of the township one of the wealthiest and best in the country. There's little cheese made in the area now. The cheese industry moved west to Holmes and Tuscarora counties. The Yaggi Dairy in Sugar Creek, Ohio still sells Swiss cheese today, though they don't make it there anymore. It's made somewhere else. We thought somebody from the Yaggi Dairy might be here, but I don't think so. Is anybody from the Yaggi Dairy?
Yes, that is.
Okay, close enough. It's been there, right? I think Aunt Donna was there too. Aren't there brochures somewhere from Sugar Creek? Are they down on the registration table? Did you see them? Okay. It's quite an experience. Our mother encouraged us to go with her often to the Swiss picnic, the Swiss celebration down there, and it's a lot of fun. Just polkas as long as you want. It's great stuff. The original Yaggi Homestead in Knox Township was located on Bandy Road. In your folders, there's a brochure that has the homesteads. So you're going to need that to follow along. This next part is we talk about the homesteads. It's the one that's got the bell and the Homestead Historical Society on the. I thought about not writing this up, and it's so confusing, so convoluted, that you're going to have to go home and read this a couple of times to figure it out. At least it took me a couple of times to figure out. Okay. Jacob and Maria came to America in 1837 with their 2-year-old daughter Mary, who was born in Switzerland. They had a total of 9 children, 3 of whom died at a young age. The first 6 children born to them survived to adulthood: Mary, Jacob Jr., Christian, Susanna, Emmanuel, and Elizabeth. The last three born to them, Henry, Ferdinand, and Emily, died at an early age. Jacob Jr. never married. Susanna did marry, but she didn't have any children. So the Yaggi descendants have come from Mary, Christian, Emmanuel, or Elizabeth. The Yaggi name is spelled many different ways on documents. If you go to the internet and try to trace your history back, you have lots of choices on how to spell that name. Jaggi, which is on the crest, and that seems to be the Swiss spelling. Yuggy, which is on one of the tombstones down at the cemetery. It seems to be the German spelling. Then there's Yockey, Yagge, and Yawkey. So I figured those must be phonetic spellings that someone heard the name pronounced and tried to spell it. I think that's why there's many variations. Does anybody know any more than that? Yeah, Bobby?
On my abstract, it's Yaggie. Oh, I think there's either 3 or 4 spellings on that. But that's one of them, though.
On the same document?
Yes.
The name spelled always the same document.
At least 3.
Okay.
All the bases, huh?
Did a lot of you get to go around and see the homestead tours? Did you get to see the houses? If you follow along with the numbers, then remember what you saw. Perhaps they'll help you keep them straight. Yes.
I was just going to point out, as many of you should already know, there's not a big difference between Yaggi and Jaggi.
Yeah.
But in Switzerland, the Y is nothing other than I-J put together. And in fact, if you go to look up some of the names in the telephone book, you're hard put to know whether to look under I's, J's, or Y's.
That must be very confusing. Okay, let's look at number 9. Jacob and Maria Yaggi cabin home site. Jacob Yaggi Sr., recall him that, just to keep him straight from his son, and we call him Junior. Jacob Yaggi Sr. was a farmer and a cheesemaker. His sister Maria Yaggi Clement had come to America 2 years before him and settled in Knox Township by the time Jacob arrived. The first land owned by Jacob Sr. and Maria Yaggi was at 2455 Bandy Road. That's photo number 10. It was purchased in 1840. There was probably a house on the property, but we were not able to find any documented evidence of what it might have been like. Does anybody know about that very first property? Okay. Now, by 18...
That's where the cabin was? You had a picture of it?
Bobby? Yes.
I don't know.
It was across from your present house, right?
I believe. Mine, they owned from 1840 to 1851. But no house to the best of my knowledge. Possibly there was, but I don't know.
Wonder where they lived. Do you think they lived with his sister? Where do you think they lived? I don't know.
I'm the wrong one to answer that.
I found out in genealogy there were a lot of mysteries. If you try to find one thing out, you find 10 that you can't figure out. So, and that multiplies to 100, and that multiplies to 1,000. So, this is quite a deal.
I thought it was fairly well understood that that's where they first built the log cabin that was subsequently moved up on US 22, or 62.
Right, that was across the street, though. The log cabin was across the street.
On what voices now? I believe.
Yes. Yeah, they came in 1837. Okay. Right. By 1840, they had a log cabin. Right. Then that log cabin was replaced.
That's
Okay.
where,
Nancy.
yeah, that was where Emma Stahl, our great aunt,
Okay.
first lived.
Okay. And Emma Stahl was from what branch? Mary. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. By 1860, Jacob Yaggi Sr. owned the cabin site across the road at 2344 Bandy Road. That's number 9 in the brochure. It was the first of 3 homes built on that property. First there was a cabin, then there was a 2-story log house, and finally there was a large 10-room frame house. Jacob Jr., the first child born to Jacob and Maria in this country, was a bachelor, and he lived in the log cabin and later in the two-story log house with his mother until she died in 1889. Mary Yaggi Kristen and her husband Abe lived in the log house, and their daughter Emma Kristen Stoll and her husband George built the frame house after they were married. Okay, so 3 houses on the same property. Okay, anything to add about that house, either of those 2 properties? Bobby?
I've got a question. In other words, is that the house where the young Boyces live at today? Okay.
Yes, it is.
What about time frame on that?
When it was built, or when it was moved, because it became, or when it was rebuilt, because there were 3 different structures on that. I don't know. All I know is in terms of who did it. So, you can tell by who did it when it happened. Can anybody give more specific information about that? Okay. Susanna Yaggi Reichenbach's homestead. That's photograph number 8. That's the one on Knox School Road. Okay, after his mother's death, Jacob Jr.'s sister Susanna and her husband moved from the house, the log house with him. Well, they moved into the log house with him. After Jacob Jr. died in 1911, his sister Susanna and her husband Christian Reichenbach built their own home at 2195 Knox School Road. That's photograph number 8. Susanna remained there until her husband died in 1918, and then she moved back to the cabin frame house and lived there with her niece, Emma and George Stahl. Jacob Jr. never married. He was a teacher at Mount Branch Grange. Emmanuel also lived in the log house with Jacob Jr. until he married at age 34. Emmanuel brought his wife, Lavina Freifogel-Yaggi, to live there too. Their first son, George, was born there October 8, 1880. Emmanuel and Lavina then moved to the log cabin at 1676 Johnson Road. Now it's called Knox School Road. Until the brothers made the brick to build the new Victorian gingerbread brick house at that site. Photograph number 4. That's a beautiful home where we would love to get inside to see what it's like, because some of you remember living there and what it was like. N.A., Mom, and Donna. Okay. Christian and Emmanuel had purchased the land at 1676 Knox School.
And that would be many of, you'll see all the names there that you recognize from this area. I would say one other thing. In I think it was 1985, I was on a trip, and the Cold War was still on, and I was on a trip in the eastern countries, and it was a trip on economics and peace. And in Czechoslovakia, I met a man whose name I recognized as one of the names we see very frequently in this area. And I casually asked him where his family came from, and he said from Switzerland. And I said, when did you come here? When did they come to Czechoslovakia? And he said, it was about 1835, 1837. And I said, do you know why they came? And he said, they had several summers in which the crops were very, very bad, and many people left. And I think some people went west and some people went east.
There was a population problem too, where the government was encouraging people to move, just to leave. There were just too many people for
Essentially, the amount of food they had,
yeah,
especially
the country
for summer.
was